Welcome back to another episode of the Hobby Shop Podcast, the podcast for the people. If you have questions you want answered or ideas for episode topics, drop a comment in the Facebook group or message any of us on IG. Ask your question. Your idea just may be our next episode. Welcome. Thanks for being here. You got me, Big Ken. I got Tyler and Zip. Fellas, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. This is kind of like my trip back into the hobby after kind of a light week for me. So
Yeah, we missed you. We missed you on the weekend.
I know Ken and I didn't spend a Saturday together. He's probably going through withdrawals.
I was worried. I didn't know. And then we had to fill up your table for you, which wasn't that hard.
I'm sure I've been to your house. I've seen the white boxes.
Those are coming to the National with me next year. That's where they're going. And we got Zip there. Zip had a big night Sunday night. Had his Caitlin Clark, Kate Martin, gold to 10, dual auto, PSA 10. How'd that go for you? How'd that work out?
You know what? After seeing a little bit more data, there's a card that sold right before of just Caitlin Clark and a gold and a PSA 9. Taking everything into account, I think it probably sold at a respectable number. I think it could have done better. I think it could have done worse, honestly. Yeah. But I think it was right at a pretty fair number. And honestly, I opened it and I had two other big cards that basically paid off the box that I opened it from. So it was all essentially, I was into it essentially for nothing. So I'm not going to complain with a decent little payday there. So, it is what it is. Any lessons I've learned is that sometimes dual autos are not as good as solo autos, and to temper expectations. So, overall positive experience.
Do you think, and I know I mentioned this to you before, do you think if you may have waited a little longer to auction that once the season started and maybe not only get a little bit of Caitlin Clark hype going again, but maybe a brand new team with Kate Martin with hopefully a little bit of hype with her, that maybe it would have done better? Or do you think that what it had sold for, which was just under 7K, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That you think that was probably where it was going to be, and possibly could have been a little less if you waited till the season started?
Yeah, so with this card, I don't know. And also Kate Martin is an interest. Kate Martin's the whole I don't know how to put this right. Her being on the card makes the price, I think, because it caps it, right? If it was just a gold PSA 10 Clark auto, probably would have done a way bigger number. Not probably, it would have done a way bigger number.
Yeah.
And I just felt that okay, the season can come around, whatever that means. Honestly, I don't know what that really means.
Yeah.
But I've just seen the Caitlin Clark market is just on fire. So I was like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna try to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know what happens in the next couple months, good or bad. I don't know what would be bad for her, but I just felt, why not? I don't know. I've heard people say, "Oh, wait till the season starts and this and that," and I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
I've noticed with Caitlin Clark, because I have a lot of cards in my case of her, and I've noticed recently that her lower end PSA 10 stuff is selling. So a lot of the stuff that I got from the Bowman, not Bowman, Panini Instants and things like that, those cards where I'm buying 20 or 40 of those cards and grading them all and getting a bunch of 10s, and what everybody else did, right? And the cards are probably 50 to 65, somewhere in that range. That those are the cards people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to take one of those, I'll buy one of these, but then you have these bigger cards in the case and they come up and I've noticed since the off season over these last couple months, I've noticed the bigger Caitlin Clarks are not selling for me at the shows, right? And I know that's the same because I'm going to the shows and I'm seeing other people who have them in their case, and I'm seeing those same cards in their case show after show. So online I understand they're still selling, but I see the it's almost like a roller coaster with prices that they're going up, they're going down, they're going up, they're going down, and we have such a small sample size, right? I mean, what she's doing is, we haven't seen this kind of player in this kind of sport in this market, so we really don't know what to expect. Every time we're doing something, we're like, oh well, it's brand new, we don't know what to expect. So it's hard to say if I did this or I did that or I should have done that. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason why something will sell more than another, or why your card sold where it did. Why? And other people may be saying, wow, that was high, you got lucky. Like,
Sure. Yeah. And another thing too that I thought about more after the fact than when doing it is an eBay auction versus an auction house auction when you have the extended bidding. A card like that, I think about the psychology of a buyer, and the FOMO may have played in well to that card, in extended bidding. Maybe, or maybe not. I don't know, but it could have. So I just know for me, like PC sports cards has sold many, and I know you know this more than probably anyone can, has sold many of my cards higher than any comp has
yeah,
been.
yeah,
So like I just, I basically just put blind faith in them, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm gonna let it ride.
yeah.
Uh
If it ain't broke, why fix it, right?
yeah,
If
yeah,
it's working for you and your cards are consistently selling more than and setting the new comp all the time, I mean, if one doesn't go the way you want, right? It's
yeah,
okay, you know. And,
yep,
and and I'm going to say something else too, which is interesting about when you hit these big cards, like in our mind, and you can tell me if this is true or not. In our mind, we're thinking the highest point all the time. Like when you hit a big card, like you're thinking like, oh, this is, if it's in a price range, I'm just going to make up numbers from $2,000 to $4,000. In our mind, we're thinking 4K. Right. I mean, there's no way
yeah,
we're thinking around 2K. Like in our
right,
mind, we're going right to the ceiling, right?
yeah.
Right where the ceiling is, and we're hoping for the best. And there are times which you have proved, that ceiling is now the floor because you've set a new comp that has a new ceiling, but it's not going to happen all the time.
No, and like, taking a step back at looking big picture, this wasn't a card that I needed to be a ceiling card because, I'm up a large percentage, I guess you could say.
Yep.
So it's fun.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't want to make this whole part about me. I know it kind of is, but I moved past it. I have bigger cards on the horizon ready to sell. Like I'm already past this, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So like
Yep.
it is, and I think that's important too. Like if you get caught up in the past and of what could or couldn't have been, like you're just doing yourself a disservice, I think,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
in this hobby where everything is so immediate and
Yep.
like what do you call it? Is like not squirrel, or like the dog brain, squirrel. like that's how the TikTok brain, our
Yeah.
society, like that's what we live in now, so
Yep.
it's just like be like, okay, made money, move on. And
Yep.
yeah,
And I'll tell you too, all those Paige Becker's cards I sold a couple weeks ago, right? I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when I sold them, mostly all of them on that Friday down in White Plains. Now I know 4 of those cards that went to the eBay auction this week, right? And now I'm sitting here and I know they're my cards because I could see
yeah,
the same serial numbers on them. And for the most part, I did well. Like I was happy not to be, stressing throughout that whole tournament, like, what's going to happen, because at the end of the day, they pretty much sold for what I sold them for, maybe a few dollars more.
I'll
Like they,
also I'll also say it for you so people don't think that you are, like biased in this situation. if anyone watched the game, Paige Beckers was the third best player on the UConn team.
Yeah.
In the championship game.
Yeah.
So, Ken, I think you're absolutely right. And if she's going to be the number 1 overall pick. She's a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong, but she was the third best player on the team.
Yeah. Or on the court that night or that afternoon.
Sure.
Yeah. What say you, Tyler?
So, I think Jordan, you did obviously okay on the card. So that's what made going to PC sports cards and the eBay route okay for you.
Mm-hmm.
I touched on it a few weeks ago where I think that's one of the things that is important as a takeaway. Let's play the scenario out a little different. Let's say you bought that card.
Yeah.
Raw and you graded it. Like at that point, I would have probably tackled you and said, don't put it on eBay. Because I just personally, I wouldn't put above a 5K card on eBay. I'm going to the auction. I'm just in today's market. I'm going to the auction house every time. And you hit the nail on the head, in my opinion, why I would, and it's the extended bidding.
Yeah.
Because in eBay, it's finite, right? You're throwing in a max bid and you hope it sticks. Whereas, when you get that extended bidding, you kind of get to see where somebody was willing to cap out, maybe, and then how much do you want to push it? And the marketing behind it is just the power too. If it's Fanatics, if it's Alt, if it's Golden, just that constant blasting.
So help me out here then. Help me out here then, because it's absolutely what you're talking about. Because I have this situation again, probably. I have the True Gold Caitlin Clark Fearless Prism. I'm still waiting on the grade, to pop, but it's pre-populated in the population report. So it's either a PSA 10 or a PSA 8. Yeah. Two different things. If it's a PSA 10, it's sold raw for $3,000. So is that a card that you send to auction?
I would go
the auction house.
Yeah, I would go auction house.
Okay.
Because the other thing too, at the auction house, right, the buyer's paying the premium. That's the other advantage.
That's another thing that I'm curious. What's the percentage of your take? I hate with buyer's premium. What is the take home? Because on this sale, I'll just be transparent. I got 95% of the sale. So
I think at this you get this, and correct me if I'm wrong. You get the sale price, but the buyer's paying 20% to the auction house. So it's not coming out of your end, the buyer. It's coming out of the buyer's end.
Yeah, but so then you're getting 80% of the sale. That's how I view it. Because when
they're adding 20% on to the sale.
Ken, when you look up a comp, that comp is with buyer's premium from those auction houses, though. It's 80% of the sale price. So that's how I view it. So that's why I'm curious. I thought that, and I don't know, but I thought the seller gets part of the buyer's premium as well.
Yeah. So when I used to buy cards on PWCC, I used to say, "Oh, I'll pay $90 on that card," and then it would come up and say, "Well, it's 100 and whatever and that includes the buyer's premium."
So you take home the sale price minus the commission, so it's 90%. So it's better. It's if you got 95, that's better.
Yeah.
The power of it though to me is what you're paying for, and that is the marketing power, right? It's the way it's blasted, like Fanatics Weekly. All those auctions are going on at one time. They put so much focus into that. They draw their audience in, right? I mean, so with that bigger Caitlin Clark card, I would probably go to one of the other auction houses, to be honest with you.
I sold a card on PWCC, and it took me almost a month to get paid, which is obnoxious.
PWCC doesn't run it anymore, so
yeah.
I mean, does Fanatics pay out better? Do we have any?
I mean, I'm sure they do. I think PWCC was having problems at the end, and I was the same thing. I was waiting forever to get cards, even get cards that I bought shipped to me. So, yeah,
okay.
I mean, I'm sure they've cleaned that act up quite a bit.
That's so and I'm sure maybe other people may experience this too. I just feel I don't trust the auction houses. I've had so many good experiences with what I use. I'm apprehensive to go there. Like, I'm sure you're hearing that come out too. Like, I'm not even trying to defend PC sports cards. I have no like financial reason to defend that. I just like I just hear horror stories elsewhere. So I just go to what I know.
Yes. So for you like golden is probably not where I would take that card. Where I would take that card personally is to alt right now. And
Oh,
and the reason I would go to the alt auction is alt pays you 100% of whatever the hammer price is. So they do not strip a commission out, and they pay you a bonus. So, for example, if you have a card that sells for $1,000, you get the 1,000 plus they pay you a 6% bonus. So you actually take home 1,060.
but
If
isn't
it
that
does, if it
what's
does
the
more
buyer's
than,
premium then?
excuse me,
Is the hammer including the buyer's premium?
no. So
Oh.
the buyer's premium is 20% on top of the final sale. So, for example, if a card on alt sells for $1,000,
Yeah.
the buyer pays 20% of that, and then the seller receives right now 100%. So they receive 1,000 plus a bonus.
So alt's keeping 14% and giving
So
additional
I'm getting
6%.
86%. Like I'm
No,
sorry.
no, Jordan.
No, you're getting
Getting
106%.
Okay.
If
Agree to disagree. Dude, like the
Well,
comp
yeah,
that
I
shows up-
okay, I understand what you're saying. You're saying at the end of the day, the buyer is paying
Yeah.
120%.
Yes.
So you're saying that that's the sale price.
Yes, because that's what's going to show up as data. Am I wrong? Am I missing something?
Yeah, that's what they add that in for what the buyer paid for the card. Now you're just assuming that the card is going to do less on that. But that's why oftentimes Fanatics Weekly every week sets a new comp, a higher comp. So you're not getting 86% because you're setting a newer, bigger comp.
Okay.
So it's a way to think about it, right? Like I hear what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you're getting 100% of whatever the card sells for. So the only way that you're really getting hurt there is if you really think that somebody's is not going to pay as much because they're buying on an alt. That's true on a $500 card. I don't think that's true on a rare card.
Okay.
Right, because the rare card is somebody's not buying it to flip it. They're buying it to hold it long term as an investment piece, or they're buying it as a collector. That's the difference in my mind. So that's what that's what you're getting with that is in the marketing power. That's just how I would think about super rare cards. Like if I went and pulled out, a massive card over there off the shelf, and I wanted to sell it because I needed to move it, there's no way. Like I would never sell
On eBay. Yeah.
one of the Jordans on eBay. That would scare the hell out of me. That's just my thought. But
So as we move on, I'm just going to say we're not sponsored by Alt either.
no. I just used alt as a secondary example.
All right. So as we move on, we know Bowman U basketball is out now. It just dropped, I guess, a week. It's been out a week now, right? Timing wise, I mean, we know the market is flooded with cards right now. Is it race to market like everything else? Like, how much time do we have? I mean, I think with the women, even though the draft, right? The draft is next Monday, the 14th, the WNBA draft. The NBA season goes a little longer, but how long do we actually have with these cards? And I'm going to go to the men's side first because we know the women are a little different. How long do we have to grade these cards or get these cards sold in the market before their value starts to drop because we're anticipating or their pro uni cards are going to start to come out?
I think every minute past the moment the first pack is ripped for the men there's the first sale and then it's down. There's for the men, there's just not any long-term value. The only thing that the main thing there is the autos right now. People who want to snag, a Cooper Flag auto in a Duke jersey because his only autos that exist are in McDonald's All American, if I'm correct. And so it's a not even his high school uniform. So I think on the men's side, it's just how fast can you get it to market and get it sold, and then they're already thinking about the next card, right? Because there'll be the draft day instant autos and things like that will start to do, probably early on just as much as a Bowman auto on the men's side.
Yeah, so that's actually going to beat the first pro uniform products
right.
to market is when Panini just decides we want to put out an instant card on Tuesday, then and it's got somebody in a even if it's just holding the pro uniform after they've been drafted, then that just happens, and that super size the Bowman U stuff. So is there any long-term value in any of this stuff for the men?
My personal opinion is no. I just don't see any. Even if you look at the Wemby, the Wemby Bowman auto, that really was, and that's a situation where he's Fanatics exclusive, and that was the chase. It just happened to have Caitlin Clark in it too, but everybody's chasing the Wemby auto. But the moment even an unlicensed pro card auto came out, those autos did in Topps Chrome, etc., did better than the Bowman auto.
And it's interesting that those hobby boxes still to this day, those 2022-23 Bowman U are still $400 plus per box.
Yeah. And like I said, but think about it. So it's still 400, which is double or actually probably more than double what the original MSRP was on it. But think about that. You have a box that has the only place for a long time, the only place you could have got Wemby autos, the only place you could have got Caitlin Clark autos, the only place you could get Juju Watkins autos,
Kiki Rice autos.
You get all of those, and it's still only $400 a box.
Yeah.
Right. So I just the long-term value for Bowman U in my brain is all on the women's side. It's just the
Tyler.
men.
I don't know. I thought the Bowman U outsold the Topps Chrome for Wemby. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe they're pretty close. I just see the last. Maybe I'm missing one.
So his Topps Mercury is his highest sold auto of all time.
That's not a good comparison though. I feel like you got to do the Topps Chrome to the Bowman U. Like the Mercury, it was just a Wemby product and it was like $8,000 a box. So you're talking $8,000 a box to $400 a box, right? Like that's tough. Like,
yeah, still at 168,000 though. So it's like,
did a Wemby Super Bowman U sell?
It did. So the Super did $67,333.
Okay.
So yes, that his Super outsold Topps Chrome, but again, I'm thinking through all of the Mercury products, which the Mercury's to me shouldn't sell for more because he's got, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different Mercury 101s before I get to the Super, and then there's another 3 Mercury 101. So nine of his top 10 sales are Mercury 101s. So, and then his Topps Chrome 101 Superfractor did 43,920. So the Bowman did outsell it. So on that you're spot on, but too the Bowman Superfactor sold very early, like it was his first ever auto to market, which that was the advantage it had, right? So that's where I'm saying, like with Cooper Flag, as good as Cooper Flag is probably going to be in the league, it's his first Bowman. It's going to be the first auto, but it's in Bowman, but it's not his first auto. There's already an auto
McDonald,
out there.
right? Yeah.
So just for the men, I just don't think it has a lot of long staying power. Women, total opposite. I would.
It's like night and day for men and
Yeah.
women, right? Because the women want to stay, right? They have to stay. They can't go to the draft until they're 22.
Well, the
Right.
contracts
They make more
are
money,
very different for your rookie deal for a NBA versus WNBA. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But I mean now with the women though, and we know these boxes are loaded with cards. I mean, if you go back to the 22-23 Bowman U, it was hard to pull Caitlin Clark out of those boxes. It was hard to pull, women players out of those boxes. They were predominantly men in those boxes. Now, I mean, I've opened up a couple hobby boxes. I've opened up some mega boxes, and I have to say, it is just such an exciting rip. Like to open these boxes, they're loaded with so many colored, refractors and numbered cards. It's so I mean, I mean that's what we want. I mean, when you're opening a box, there's nothing worse than you open a box and there's nothing in it, right? But on the opposite end, you open it up and you're pulling all this stuff out. Then you're like, wow, what's this worth? And you go to eBay and there's 75 of them for sale, and you're like, oh well, okay. I'm not the only one that's got one.
Yeah, I think over time though, like that's gonna dry up. I mean, this always happens. New product floods the market, then it dries up, and then the price goes back up.
Yep.
That's what I think. So
yeah. I think the women give you some collector aspect. I just don't think the men give you collector.
Thank you. Yeah, and let me clarify. That's what I'm talking about the women. Like it's gonna flood, then it will dry up, and then people will seek it out, right?
Yeah.
Well, and you have the advantage of key players not having WNBA product for a period of time still. Now, when they get WNBA product, it will you're not gonna be able to sell the Bowman as high as you once sold it. Like your Juju Watkins' Bowman autos will sell the highest when she has a great season next year and wins National Player of the Year again. That's when you can sell the Juju Watkins auto at the highest, at its true peak.
Yep. And all these first Bowman, the women's cards that are freshmen or sophomore. I mean, you're going on. They have another 2 or 3 years of playing in college, and 2 or 3 years of the Bowman product. So do we look at this and like this is where my mindset is a player like Sarah Strong and Audie Crooks and do we want to go out and get as many of these first Bowman cards and just stash them aside, because 2 years from now, 3 years from now, any one of these players could have the Caitlin Clark effect, right? That all of a sudden you want to go back and the first Bowman refractor is worth more than, the last couple of years of cards.
Yeah, and not to mention someone like Sarah Strong, you may, and maybe I'm totally wrong here, but maybe I'm biased. Is there a better like women's basketball like fan base than UConn? I don't know. No.
But look at her as a player. I mean, freshman player of the year. I mean, she was so strong in and under the basket, and then she's outside draining threes. I mean, it's just.
And she starts out with the championship. Like it's about as good of a start as you can have, Ken. I agree with you.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about the Sarah Strong, just my personal opinion, is I just shy away from post players. It's just hard to create excitement around a post player. I mean, if excitement was created around post players, Jokic would be the highest cards outside of LeBron among active players, and that's not the case. It just that's the only thing that's a little scary to me, is because it's never going to be flashy with her.
Yeah.
That's just a personal opinion on how I approach cards in general, though.
Yeah.
When it comes to basketball,
I don't know if for NBA, sure. I feel like WNBA is just a complete different beast, though, man.
Think about Breanna Stewart, though.
I think we're in a whole new wave.
Sure, but like you're talking about, like nobody's going back forget Breanna Stewart. Think about the best player in the WNBA, Deja Wilson, right? And she's she's 3 years. She's only in the league 3 years, and she just doesn't get any hype whatsoever.
Yeah, I maybe I'm crazy. I just really think it has a lot to do with the new and the coming in and
Sure.
and going
It does.
forward.
I just
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of that's about to change.
Yeah, I could be wrong. But
mine's more of a basketball comment in general. I'm just going to go towards a guard or a forward who has flashier, the ability to be flashier. That's
yeah, no,
drives, right?
I agree with that. I just think yeah.
So, but
Anything else to add before we hit the questions?
you want to touch on Optic football?
Oh yeah, Optic football dropped. What do we think of that, fellas? I mean, they Don Rust us to death. They pounded us with Prism, right? And what's interesting is that from my point of view, anyways, the Don Russ blasters sat on the shelf for a lot longer than I thought. The Don Russ mega boxes were like a ghost from the beginning. You couldn't find them anywhere, and the Prism now, even now, if I go to a Target or a Walmart, I see Prism football blasters sitting on the shelves. Will Optic be the same way? Do we think Optic will be better? Do we think the Prism blasters are sitting there because they're so hard to grade, or that they're so overpopulated, or do we think there'll be anything different with Optic?
Maybe. I think there's to me some of the Prism setting there is it's a little retail fatigue, right? Like at some point you just get to a point like what can you pull out of the Prism, right? There's just nothing in that Prism blaster that you can pull other than silver. That's basically everything you're going. Like you can pull a bigger card out of a hanger than you can a blaster in the Prism product. Whereas Donruss, you can still hit a case hit in the downtown, etc. Optic is interesting. They added 9 parallels, 10 if you include a new parallel in the H2 box. So Panini did its thing just like they did with Prism, just throwing in extra parallels. They did a few weird things with the parallels as well before we even get into the case hits, but they changed the numbers on a couple parallels. So gold vinyl and black are not the only 101. So now you have the Nebula, so it's making its Optic debut. They added an out of 5 Blue Mojo in the H2 box. They added a footballs and a dragon parallel that are numbered 16 for the footballs and 24 for the dragon. And then
when you say the football and the dragon, is that like the emoji one? Is that
it's very similar.
So they're numbering them now.
So the footballs and dragons, they did number them. Now in 23, they did number the shield ones to 32. They did that again this year to 32. A couple of the like weird nuance differences is in 23, the lime green was to 20. Now lime green is to 50. In 23, pink velocity was out of 79. This year it's out of 80. And in 23, red was out of 99. This year it's out of 125. So that's a couple, where they decided to change the numbers, which I know it's not as big a deal in a product like Optic because, people don't chase a particular parallel and build that year over year like they do in Topps Chrome Baseball, where Top Fanatics made a change and messed with the numbering and this year and some of its Topps Baseball stuff, and the collectors lost their mind, and Fanatics immediately corrected and basically reintroduced some of them. But that's interesting, the parallels, and then you got the Uptowns, which is the knockoff Downtown, and then the Downtown checklist in Optic is a little nuts. It's the 25 downtowns that we saw in the Donruss product, and then we added 15 duos, and then we added 10 more downtown legends.
So and are they still going to be? Do we know if there's still a case hit or
they're still listed as a case hit, but in so on the downtown, so that's 50 total downtowns, I believe, is what's possible if you include the duos and the legends.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously in Optic, they introduce the Black Pandora out of 25, and you still have the gold out of 10, and then 2 101s, both the white sparkle and the gold vinyl. Which I'm surprised they didn't add a parallel to, in all honesty, to the downtowns or uptowns, considering in Donruss Hobby they added the gold out of 10 downtown, which was the first time it had ever been there. Donruss had traditionally just been a downtown, no parallel. So that's just I just going through the checklist earlier today. Those are kind of some of my notes from the release from that perspective.
And do we know that I know the blasters have hit the market the blasters. So this was the same as last year, right? Because the hobbies haven't hit yet, right?
Yeah, they were much later last year because we didn't get Donruss. We didn't get Donruss Optic Mega till it was right around National. It was right before National was when the hobbies and the megas started to hit.
Yeah.
Which they're a little ahead of schedule from that perspective, but
yeah, it's crazy how they let the blasters come out first before.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they do that with the Donruss too, that the blasters come out and the megas come out before the hobby.
Yeah, I know we got a text to our group chat earlier that the Optic megas were showing up on Target, so they're getting out there. But
I think I ordered them. Right, we ordered six of them right yesterday, isn't that?
Maybe I didn't order.
Zip, isn't that what we did yesterday? Didn't we order 6 of those Optic
blasters?
Yeah. We ordered something. It's
Yeah.
like a blur.
Hopefully they're not 98% base again, like Donruss.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people have the illusion that Donruss blasters are good because you can get a downtown out of an entire case, but you're left with 19 blasters that are worth $5 maybe. So I don't know. It's just honestly, you told me the downtown checklist expanded like that, and that's just makes me want to vomit.
So
honestly, it's
it may be more than a case hit now too, though. If there's that many of them,
or it makes the really good downtowns, like the rookie downtowns, more scarce because they're it's harder to hit.
Yeah,
I don't know if it is still a case. I don't know.
Optic FOTL drops next Tuesday, unless Panini pushes it. But right now they have it on. Panini has it up with a countdown to go next Tuesday.
Dutch auction.
1,700 is the start price.
Not as outlandish as I would expect.
No, it makes me.
It's actually pretty reasonable of a start.
Remember last year's first off the line that had 5 downtowns per buy. There were so many downtowns.
Yeah, some cases had what was I think the record case was 45 or something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean at 1,700 I actually I may buy an FOTL box. I don't know. Just because the fact that Penix and McCarthy have on-card autos.
Oh, your boy McCarthy.
I don't want McCarthy. I want Penix, but I'll sell McCarthy to idiots who want to buy him.
That's what you're referring to me now as?
My favorite one though, Ken. My favorite McCarthy idiot. No, that's too strong of a word. I just
you're talking to a man.
McCarthy believers. Well, I'll call them McCarthy believers.
Yeah, he will become a starter. So, if nothing else, I'll take it and sell it in August.
Exactly. Yeah, don't act like you're not you're going to own a JJ McCarthy card by the time he takes a snap.
No, not a chance.
You won't own one by the time he takes a preseason snap.
No.
I like him more than Ritter, though, Ken.
Well, you know what? I said this so many times. I love Desmond Ritter because he made me so much money. Right? I bought all those cards, and everyone believed in him, and I sold them all, and it was fine. I mean, I was hoping he was the next coming of Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, right? I mean, every quarterback, you hope that it's going to be that way when you're selling these cards to people, when you're buying them and selling them. But at the end of the day, it's, as long as you get rid of them at the right time, they suit their purpose. And one more thing I was going to mention before we move on was I saw on a post on Facebook today. I was just thinking about that. I haven't really researched it, but somebody said that WNBA, Don Russ, WNBA was going to be released for the 2025 draft class in July. So that's a whole new product for the WNBA that hasn't been there before, that they're saying they're going to be dropping. So that could include, right? That would include, if you figure it's going to include downtowns, right there too. So that would be a whole other chase, like a WNBA chase for, at least Caitlin Clark and a number of other people.
Yeah. Another interesting note is just on around products dropping from Panini is Impeccable and Immaculate have not dropped for 2024 NFL yet. So they're going to come after Optic, which is the exact opposite of this year or 23. So that's it. I'm curious how close it's going to put like the Impeccable, Immaculate, Flawless NT windows, because they're going to be they might be more condensed than normal. So this is something like Impeccable or Immaculate take a hit because of that.
And it may be a contractual thing too. Maybe they're trying to just spread it out. When do they lose the contract?
Technically, right, next year, right? Unless but there's a lawsuit in play, right? I've stopped almost paying attention at this point. Yeah, so it was set to, let's see, they terminated it. It was set to expire in 25, but it was terminated.
They may be just spreading it out to last out the whole year.
Yeah, maybe. It's just interesting to me and that's just something I just noticed, that they're going to, Impeccable and Immaculate are going to drop, after things like Optic, because I think last year they dropped somewhere around Prism. So you had this kind of window of time where you saw your first set of RPAs come out. So,
all right. Well, let's get to the questions.
Alrighty.
Cue you, Jordan.
Sounds good. From Ryan Gendron. I purchased a bunch of single raw cards online from eBay. The question I have is, what do you do when the card comes in with flaws, i.e. scratch, print lines, etc., things you will only see when the card is in hand outside of a penny sleeve and top loader? Yet one more reason to visit card shows. However, the baseball player I PC, Ethan Salas, I only collect his first Bowman numbered cards, very hard to find in person.
Well, I'll say it happens a lot. I mean, it happens a lot when you buy cards on eBay. You hope that the seller puts some disclosures out or does some zoom in pictures. But if you're getting not what you expected, there's always the return option, right, to send it back. So I always say read the full description, right, to see if they mention anything in there. And if it's a card you may be paying, I don't know what you're paying. If there's a card that I'm paying a decent amount for, I'll generally, and I don't think the pictures are showing the whole card, I'll send a message. Hey, how does this card look? Anything I should know? Can you send me some a couple pictures, and if they respond, then I'm more happy to go ahead with the sale. If I get ignored, then I'll just move on.
Yeah, I would definitely ask for more pictures early on. I'm probably the bad person to ask on this one because I just avoid buying raw cards off eBay unless it's like an absolute PC that I may not care as much about from a grading perspective. Um, so that's just kind of where my head's at. But I would, you know, some you have to do it. It's just a chance you take. I would certainly exercise the return option if you're not happy.
Yep.
That's really the end for me.
Yeah, and then there's always the age old of, if you want a PSA 10, buy a PSA 10. Like I know when I buy cards, I don't expect them all to be perfect. There is the return option. I guess there's a threshold that you have to decide what that is for you, of what's a flaw that's acceptable and not. Like, for example, if you sold a card and there was a minor flaw, or again, I have no idea what this flaw is. How would you feel if you had a return? That's always a good way to kind of judge it too. But yeah, at the end of the day, also, Ethan Salas numbered cards raw are probably not going to be gem worthy, if I'm going to be honest. Like, people who are opening Bowman are pretty much, going to be like, these are the names of the guys and these are going to get graded. And Salas, when that stuff was coming out, was immediately going to PSA. So that's tough. I would say use discretion, and if you're unhappy, send it back. But yeah, totally up to you.
Yeah. Ask questions. Like, communication is key. I think with eBay, and what I've learned over the years is communication is key with eBay. And if people are willing to communicate with me, then I can ask questions and we can avoid a lot of conflict. And sometimes I try to communicate with people and I get nothing back. I just move on. Even if it's the card I really, really, really want, if I'm not getting any communication, I just move on. Because that's as much communication as I'm going to get if the card shows up damaged and I'm trying to figure out how to return it. So,
Alrighty. Next question here. What types of cards do you think end up with the most quote unquote end users as opposed to flippers? And does it make sense to try to deal in those types of cards to avoid percentage of comps, quote unquote, pricing argument as a result? Tom G from Instagram.
good question, Tom. Who wants to start?
I think we probably touched on something similar to this. It's low pop to me. If you've got low pop counts, hard to come by cards. The comp means a little less because you can find somebody who just will take the card either at the full comp or might be willing to pay a bigger number. I mean, there's when you get into that realm of cards, there's plenty of examples where a new comp is set live at a card show, which is not something people actually think about happening anymore. But when I think about those types of cards and those targeting those cards, I mean, when going back to when Ken and I were in Atlanta, I sold at least 3 cards that I know of over any public sale that had occurred at that point. So, when that person walks up and it's a card that you're only going to see once every 6 months or so, the odds are that's the card you're not going to get in an argument about.
Yeah. And I mean, it really, you're looking at the cards that if you're going out and try to buy a Jaden Daniels or last year a CJ Stroud or any hot young quarterback. I mean, it's just a card that's going to be, just flip people. They're just going to flip the heck out of that card. Right. So, you're looking for, end users, you're talking about people who are creating PCs or they're PCing a player. And usually those are off the beaten path, right? They're not the mainstream guys. So, And I think Tom himself has a PC of Hudson, right?
Tim Hudson.
Yeah, that's probably a little different than most. I mean, I'm sure there's other people collecting them out there, but he's not a guy that everybody has a PC up on their wall in their office.
Thinking about this, it's kind of contradictory if you think about it. So you're trying to acquire cards that are going to end users, right? So how do you not be the end user for an end user card? Use the percentage of comps, right? It's just kind of funny. Like you got to get the card to sell the card, and then you're hoping to mark it up on the end user. So, definitely if it's like you said, Tyler, low pop, then that's great. But also, don't be the guy who's like, every single card has this elaborate story on why it's worth more than it sells for. So, I think it's a play on both, if I'm going to be honest. But at the end of the day, Tyler, I think you're spot on. I'm low pop, right? Because the rarity and numbers are undeniable.
Well, and sometimes, just to be honest, it's even acquiring the card, you're maybe not even playing the game. Just the perfect example I have in my brain, because it happened fairly recently, and Ken was with me. We were at the Orange Card Show here in Connecticut, and I walked over and I saw a PSA 5 1956 Jackie Robinson Grayback, and it was probably the single best PSA 5 copy I'd ever seen. Had PSA 8 centering, beautiful color, and I'd already spent a lot of money at Orange, and I never dreamed that I needed to have that much cash. I go over to Ken and I say, "How much cash do you have on you?" And I paid 100% of the last comp to acquire that card, and I sold it for $300 over what I paid for it in Atlanta. And that's sometimes it's picking out those situations, right? And that's to me that's what it's about. Understanding not just low pop or something like that. It's just nuances inside of a card. It happens in vintage baseball a lot. You start to see it happen way more in the 1986 Fleer Jordan world, where a PSA 8 has such a wide range of outcomes now, and it's just because of the quality of the copy. So, understanding that and what attracts the end user from that perspective, something else I think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question from Cyrus on Instagram. When watching Reels YouTube videos, what about them keeps you entertained? Is it the funny edits, the informative side, the personality of said person? I'll start out quick with this because I know Cyrus, he's been making a couple of reels and they're pretty. I actually messaged him and I was like, "Hey, dude, I think you should just do this more," because he sets up at a lot of shows. He like in the question, he has a great personality to do it. He's just like a genuine guy. I think it's just a mixture of everything and keeping a good balance of content. By no means am I a content like good at this at all. Ken does the back end, which I know is basically we shoot this once and it gets posted, right, Ken? Like, so
I keep trying to get you guys to do something flashy on the front end, but nothing yet. No. We might have to bring Cyrus in to get him to help us out.
Yeah, no, I just think something that's it's going to grab someone's attention. It's quick. Maybe it's a little piece of information. Maybe it's a little thing that's funny, or maybe it's just something wholesome. But I think just keeping those posts like natural and diverse kind of keeps people entertained.
Yeah. For me, it's natural and genuine interactions. It's probably where I gravitate to the most. And when I think about the card content specific stuff, it's probably why I pay attention to Kyle from King of Cards more than anybody from a short clip perspective. And I think that's become his bread and butter and led to his overall growing in general. Because I think he actually just hit 100,000 subscribers. So congrats to him. I think he just dropped that video, but that to me is what I want to see.
And with that being said, Kyle, come on the podcast.
Yeah. what I would say is don't be the bait and switch. Like nothing drives me more nuts
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
April Fool's joke or not, you can read between the lines.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think I agree. I'm going to echo kind of what you guys said. I think all three are very important, but for me, I think one of the biggest things for me is getting to the point. Right. I like the videos that I know where they're going, and sometimes I don't know where they're going, but I understand where they're going quickly. Like it's the ones that are so drawn out that I'm just like, "Oh, okay, swipe, like I just keep moving. So um, I and as I say this, and are these episodes are like an hour and a half, right? And I'm saying we need to get to the point quicker, but that's just me, and it's what I like to watch and I like to look at, and I'm sure it's the age thing too, right? Where probably not as much patience as most people when watching the videos.
Alrighty, thank you, Cyrus. Next question from Greg Yazzo. Top players you'd grade from new Bowman U Chrome, not named Flag, Juju Strong, or Bailey.
Audie Crooks.
Audie Crooks, that's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Silas Swords on Michigan.
Yeah.
Joyce
Citron.
Edwards.
Yeah.
Cintron. Joyce Edwards on South Carolina is a true freshman who looked really, really good.
And you're going to hear us just going on with the women, because these are the ones that we feel, and we discussed this earlier, that have more long-term value than the men.
Yeah. And it's because they're coming back to play college basketball. And a lot of the top men are going to be one and done. So, do either of you guys know the date of the NBA draft? Is it in July or June?
June, right? It's right. It's right before. It's right around the finals. If I remember correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm almost positive it's in June.
Yeah. So, and then that poses the whole thing of logistics, right? So, say you open these cards or you buy a card in the next week or two. With the new PSA updates, what is that, like 4 months to get the card back? Well, that's August if my math adds up for 4 months. So that's tough.
Yeah.
So
you and I were talking about this today, Zip, about the PSA thing. I don't know if you want to mention it, but I mean, PSA has changed the time length of getting back, adding time on. And I know SGC is the same thing. I've had an order out there for a month, and it hasn't been graded yet. So, I mean, I think these grading companies are getting hammered right now with orders. And, one of the questions we had, does it make sense to pay up to get the card back faster so you'd be first to market? And I think we probably go on a card-to-card basis and a player-to-player basis, right? But I think that may be a good option in some cases, in order to be able to get certain cards to market quicker.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So, like, for example, Value Plus has not been impacted, and that is $39.99 a card.
How many days?
20 business days. That will be back before then. So that is an option, but that being double the price of what bulk is, that's inherently a lot more risk for a lot.
You're adding $20 on to a card, right? So let's just say that this card, again, making up prices, it's $150 card raw, PSA 9 200, PSA 10 600, right? I mean, it's probably worth a chance to add $20 on to get it back in 20 days, and be first to market, versus saying, I'm not going to pay the extra 20. I'm going to get the card back in 55 days. Right. And at that time, the PSA 9 could be $90, right?
Yeah. And Ken, what I would say, and I bet I'm sure you probably agree with me on this, that play is probably more geared towards the men in the product.
Yes. Yep.
Because I think the WNBA, oh my god, the women in Bowman U, like when they come back, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because they're still going to be playing, they're still going to be in there. For the men, it's trying to rush and beat oh my god, licensed product. A pro licensed product. That's the play.
Yeah.
I think. You know,
we have a player like now like Kiki Irfan. Right?
Yep.
That I guess she's going to the draft, right? There's talk that she may not go to the. So here's a card like her, that if you get a card like her, if she's going to the draft. Do we want to get that card graded quick or get it out to the market, because we know she's going to the draft, and as early as July there could be pro cards of hers out, right? I mean that would be the only, in my mind, that where I would think on one of the women's cards that I would rush maybe to get out to see that it could be worthwhile. But I guess raw would just be just as good in that case too.
Yeah. Yep. That's interesting too, because that's her. I mean, I know it's her first, but does she even have any other cards in any other?
No, this year is her first cards coming out.
Yeah.
So she's an interesting. She hasn't been in any other products. If 1 year in this product, and she may go right to the WNBA. So this may.
That may not be terrible either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. But again, like this is us like trying to figure this out and talking through it, because we don't know. If we had the crystal ball and knew, we'd be very happy about that. But like there's a lot up in the air for it. So, anything else on grading from Bowman U?
No, I think that's it.
So I guess really quick, what I'll probably do is I'll probably like whatever the threshold is that I figure out, or rarity of a card, I'll probably look at like those bona fide lottery picks from the guys, and I'll probably send them at $40 a card. So, for example, I have like a Liam McNeely from UConn, the black refractor out of 10. I'll probably send that at $40 if it looks good. So, and I also have his gold auto coming in, and that was like $150 card. If it looks good, I'll probably send it in at $40. Because like another thing with that very specific thing, if like it comes back and then some of those graded sell or it just tanks, we're in Connecticut, so like I'll just keep it and someone will want it. But it's definitely a lot more unknowns than usual. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I would add Ace Bailey and Ron Harper. As far as
Harper. So he said besides Bailey, but Harper definitely.
Dylan Harper. Yeah. I mean, Dylan Harper's probably going to go number 2.
Yep, that's what I saw in some mocks.
Most likely. So it is first Bowman auto for him. Did he mention Derek Queen?
He did not. That's another good one that I would.
That would be the other one that I would gravitate towards. Like if you're trying to rush an auto to beat the NBA draft.
That'd be at that $40 level, Tyler, just to like kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I agree with you. I think that's probably the move. It's definitely not as easy as normal stuff though, with how quick, because like this is a product that should have got released like in January.
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't get released before the NCAA tournament's crazy.
You know how insane this product would have been throughout March Madness?
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
Been awesome.
The other guy to probably mention is Trey Johnson. If you're trying to do the NBA draft for the $40 value, he declared for the draft today, and so he's probably going to be a top 5 pick.
Trey Johnson, where from?
Texas.
Texas. Okay.
Yeah.
I opened a lot of it. I feel like I did not see much Trey Johnson.
Yeah, he'll be. I'm assuming he's in the checklist. I didn't check, but I mean, one of the best freshmen in the country. I would hope that is related as late as they release the product. I would hope that Trey Johnson's in it. Let me check the checklist.
Well, UConn didn't have Azzy Fudd in there. I'll tell you that. This is it's a little Dylan Harper blue out of at a 150 insert. It's not bad. Not bad.
Actually, Trey Johnson is not in the product. That is crazy. Okay.
Yeah, they missed on a few. That's for sure. Azzy Fudd being the big one. She might have been the chase, honestly, Ken, with how she was in the Final Four in the finals. She was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
But Panini Instant just put her cards out today. They didn't miss too many days before they put those up.
Yeah. All right. Next question from Kieran Rizzo. You randomly stumble across a single 1986 Fleer basketball pack. Do you rip it, sell it, or hold it?
Rip it.
Yeah, I'm ripping it. I'm giving it to Sherry to rip.
Yeah. Sherry is ripping that. I'll probably give mine to Sherry too, for God's sakes. Yeah, I think you come across it. I assume you stumble across it. You're not buying that, right? Like it's just,
If I bought one graded, I'd crack it and rip it. It has a cap value without being ripped.
Okay, fair enough.
Like,
so we all in agreement, rip it. Thank you, Kieran. Next question we got here, Sam Schwartz. What do you think of NBA, NFL debut patches in the future, with the success of MLB debut patches and Panini losing licensing?
They will put NT and flawless RPAs to shame in the future.
They're pretty awesome. All I can think of is the Arch Manning debut patch is gonna be absurd, right? Because that's probably the year it will happen next year, right? Like that's when it would.
But those patches are like winning the lottery, right? I mean,
Yeah.
literally, you pull that patch, you've won the lottery, and that really gets a lot of people buying even more so. I remember the Skeens patch, right? Now I really don't follow baseball, but I was lucky enough to get a half a case of those mega boxes, and I was selling them at shows and online, and it's like people who bought them from me were like messaging me day after day, like, did you get any more? I want some more. And these are people that are not in the hobby and didn't even open boxes. They were just trying to hit that Skeens card, right? Or something as equally good. So I mean, I think what a great marketing tool that you're putting lottery tickets inside these boxes. That, I mean, you're getting people buying the boxes that normally wouldn't be buying them.
Yeah. I mean, the key is, right, it's going to be, because I'm assuming it'll follow the baseball model, because to put that patch in, it basically has to come out of a product that releases late in a season. So it's going to be in a Topps Chrome update product, your flagship
you think
product.
Football or basketball would have update? That's kind of I feel like update's a very baseball specific thing.
So they always did have update traditionally.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, if you don't have update, you can't get that patch. Like,
for sure.
Can't have that debut patch, because you don't want, the last thing you want to do is release that product and not have a breakout rookie in it, and you want to put that card all in one product. But the kicker for that, to me, what will make that so crazy good in the Fanatic space, is the single biggest card you can hit is not going to be in a multi-$1,000 box like it is with NT or Flawless. The single biggest card you can hit can come out of a retail mega box, and it'll be able to come out of just a standard hobby box.
Yeah.
And
which is also a great marketing tool too, right?
Yeah. Will change the dynamic. What I'm more interested in is how they do, because I think the patch autos the debut patch will take care of itself. It's just how they handle like traditional RPAs. What sticks as the primo Fanatics RPA?
I hope Dynasty.
Yeah, that's which will those Topps products for people who don't buy baseball. It's going to bring a whole, like, somebody that's going to bring Ken into this whole new world, and he's going to see how awesome Topps Dynasty or like Topps Triple Threads or something like that truly is.
Yeah. Triple Threads is great too.
Compared to, the garbage Panini puts out. Where they put sticker autos on shit. So,
Tyler, don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel.
I just can't handle it. Nothing drives me more nuts than you look at a Prism out of 10 gold auto and it's a sticker. It just makes me want to scream.
That's funny. So we got here. What tips do you have for finding deals on Facebook? I tend to find overpriced lots, and if you ask for a bundle price for a whole lot, they offer to sell at 95% of comps. Any keywords in the description you look for, or any clues that you find to be helpful for motivated sellers? P.S. I'm a West Coast vendor. I'd be happy to report any West Coast trends or card show reports. That'd be cool in the future, actually.
Yeah.
Keywords. Found this in a storage unit. Don't know what I have. No. Facebook Marketplace is an absolute animal. It's the wild, man. You just for every fool, every like 50 fools, you find someone who you may be able to work with. Honestly,
and sometimes that was well worth it, right? I mean, going through 50 different people in collections until you make that one right connection.
But
I you have to have patience.
Yep. I was just gonna say, I think it's a lot more work than people want to put in.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think you're talking about marketplace, and I'm talking about Facebook groups too. I find those to be a lot of work too. Trying sometimes like Facebook Marketplace, like somebody's got something out there, you message them and you're going back and forth. Somebody puts something up in a Facebook group, and if you're not like watching that like a hawk, you're not getting a deal. Right, because there's stuff that go up for sale, like people are right there all over it, and I've been through this on on the women's the WNBA site back and forth, like cards pop up that I really would have wanted, and it was 3 minutes ago, and then there's already 4 people still available. I'll take it. So it's very tough.
Yeah, on the Facebook Marketplace, be willing to send 100 messages. Hope you hit on 5.
Yeah.
Then.
The best way is to have a card store that people call you, right, and bring their cards to you. Even if you don't have a store, maybe you just have.
So speaking of that, I was driving. Where was I driving yesterday? Oh yeah. Yesterday I was driving. Or no, it was Saturday. I was driving through Monroe, and I saw a little sign stuck in the ground. Have baseball card collections. Call this number. It was the first time I'd seen that. Just like one of the, if you want to sell your home or you want to sell whatever, and it was stuck right at the end of a shopping center, right as you turned in.
I saw that too. I think you missed the small print. It said, "We'll show up in white van without windows."
But
yeah, no, that's intriguing. Alrighty, so yeah, Facebook, it's a monster. Next question, from DJ.
And you know what? Before you move on, tell them what was the person's name who asked that question from West Coast?
I apologize. That was Jack Thomas from the West Coast. I apologize.
So Jack, just let us know what it's like out there. I mean, all 3 of us are all here in the state of Connecticut. We're on the East Coast. We're kind of giving you a little bit of what we see here. Just drop us a message. Being on the West Coast, let us know where you are and what kind of things you're up against out there.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question, Jack. From DJ Sports Cards 86 on IG, will PSA increase the gem rate on 2024 Prism going forward, given that the baseline print quality seems to be some of the tiny surface dimples? With 2023 Prism, this type of adjustment seemed to be made with the side-to-side front centering. Do you guys think we will see this again?
He said that with 2021 they did that?
Nope. With 2023 Prism, this
Oh,
type of adjustment seemed to be made with the side-to-side
I don't
center.
know. I think we should ask Trevor Lawrence about his rookie Prism card that they never really made up for it, right? I mean, it's probably still one of the lowest Prism silver rookie quarterback cards, pop count anyways. Um, I know I just had an order pop today, and the true Prism cards. So I have a couple base quarterback cards that gemmed, but my silver ones didn't. My silver ones all got 9s. So
Do you remember anything that was like kind of off with them or no?
no, I mean, they were the best of what I had. Like when I I went through these cards, I had a huge stack, and there was about 10 or 12 of these cards were probably the best. And I do want to say that order had 41 cards in it, and I gemmed 21 of the 41 cards. So I mean, the gem rate was pretty good. My success rate on gemming was pretty good. Although the Prism Silvers is really what you want to gem, right? When you're for the most part, when you're grading these cards, and those got 9s. So, I did not gem one silver Prism card. All the inserts, the fireworks, the emergent green, the green, all those gemmed, right? Those, but though just those silver prisms were just a problem.
I haven't graded too much of it, so I really don't feel like I could speak on it that much. I've graded like 10 of them, and I think I've got all 10s on 10 of them. So maybe I was just lucky with what I got, honestly.
Yeah.
And I've graded exactly 0, but I do know what he's talking about when it comes to last year. They did make.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's time will tell. So maybe I remember with 2023 Optic, like a lot of the optics would have a faint print line horizontally across the front, and they just overlooked it too. So I know there is a thing for sets. If there's a common flaw, they will sometimes give into it. So yeah, we will see. That's something I'll definitely pay attention to, though.
And I'm sure PSA is inundated right now with those cards. So, if they're going to make an adjustment, they're going to have to make them on all of them, and not just, wait till.
Yes, for sure.
Wait till a further date.
Absolutely. And then last question of the night here from Jeff Bahuniak on IG. What percentage of the industry is just purely end users?
I mean, I bet you, and I thought about this question today. I bet you it's pretty high, because we don't know. Like, honestly, we don't know all the people. There are so many people in this hobby that don't go to shows, right? That maybe just shop online, or, I mean, I'm not going to answer this question based on what I know and what I see every day in the hobby, because I'm interacting with people who really aren't end users, right? That they're flipping and buying and grading and selling, and they're doing a lot of what, I'm around like-minded people.
Yeah.
So when I do talk to other people who are purely collectors, and they talk about these groups they're in, that people that don't go to shows, and people that, they shop this group online, or so, I think the number is a lot higher than how I would answer it in my world.
Yeah, I think we're certainly jaded by the company we keep to answer that question. I would say it's the majority of people is the collector.
Yeah.
I don't know at all.
We just changed your mind, didn't we, Jordan?
I mean, changed it, or I feel like if I said something so contradictory, it would just honestly sound asinine. So I'm just going to refrain from that. Yeah, you're probably right. probably a lot of people out there just, buying online casually, and they have their collection at home, and
Yeah.
people don't even know that they have cards. I bet there's so many people like that. You're probably right.
Yeah. I mean, and I've met people selling cards like through Facebook Marketplace of people I know that order hobby boxes online, and they open the boxes up and they sleeve all the cards and they put them in a box. And
And
they
a lot of them refer to the card price values as the book value.
not even selling them. They just wanted to open them up and they get excited, right? Oh, yeah, I got this great card. They have one box of the autos and one box of the numbered cards and things like that. And they're not going to shows. They're not trying to sell the cards. They're just buying them. They're opening them up and then they're just boxing them up, cataloging them, and just putting them on the shelves in their, in an office or in a room in their house. And sooner or later, they know those cards are going to make it to mainstream,
Yeah.
But
Well,
not-
then, Ken, I would say, how do you classify you and I? Right? Listen, my end user box is worth way more than what I pack to the shows.
and I'm the same exact. I'm in the same boat. I am in the exact same boat. If I pull my PC cards out, and valued them up and compared them to the cards that I'm bringing and buying and selling them in shows, it wouldn't even compare.
So would you guys classify yourself as, the question says, quote unquote, purely end users? No. So when you get to that percentage of purely end users, that's why I was a little taken aback when you guys were like, I bet it's a majority. I was like, sheesh, I don't know about that. That means like if I think of purely end users, that means this person never sold a card and will never sell the card. They're gonna die with it.
Yeah, I guess I think about it just a little differently. Like for me, the shows and the business aspect of it is how I purchase my end user cards. The other end users that I would say that would make me just as much an end user as them, they may have a different side hustle that funds their collection.
Yeah.
Right. I just choose the side hustle becomes, synonymous with the collector aspect of it. But the only reason I do this, the reason I started doing this was so that I just didn't get crucified for what I wanted to spend on personal collection cards. I was trying to find a way to buy them.
Yeah. And it's nice to be able to do this and take that money and roll it into, and let's face it. I mean, you just said you didn't want to get crucified. I could certainly think of probably 10 other ways I could go out and earn money to fund my PC. It doesn't have to be this, but I just really have a good time doing this, right? Yep. And I love going to the shows, and I love the people, and I love creating this content, and there's so much about this hobby that I love. So it's really a win-win for me. I get to go do the thing that I love and then make money and buy the things that I love.
Yeah.
So
the word pure, the word is defined as
here we
without
go.
any extraneous and unnecessary elements.
It still doesn't change my opinion on how the word pure here does on that, but
to each his own.
Yeah. So
all right, fellas, another great episode. I said I wanted to try to shorten it up, and here we are back in an hour and 23 minutes. So
blame Bowman U.
Yeah.
Money pit of a product, Bowman U, yeah.
Anything else to add before we finish?
No. Yeah. Have
Nothing
fun.
for me.
It's a hobby. Have fun.
Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and fellas, I will see you next week. Have a good night.
See y'all.